I'm 19 and a college freshman, and my life has already blown up in a way I never expected. I thought moving away from home would give me freedom, a chance to finally start over after years of feeling suffocated in my small town. I had a scholarship, a dorm room with a stranger who turned out to be nice enough, and for the first time in my life, I felt like things were actually going to go right. That lasted exactly 3 weeks. It started when I came back from class one afternoon and noticed my roommate acting weird. He kept glancing at his phone, shoving it under his blanket whenever I looked his way. I brushed it off at first. People text their girlfriends all the time, no big deal. But then I heard a laugh I knew too well. It was my sister's. I froze. My sister is only a year older than me, and she goes to a different college about 40 minutes away. There was no reason her voice should have been coming out of my roommate's phone. I told myself I must have been imagining it. Maybe I was just homesick and my brain was playing tricks on me. But later that night, while my roommate was in the shower, his phone buzzed. I couldn't help glancing at the screen. There it was. Her name, bold as day. From that point on, I couldn't unsee it. The late night whispers, him sneaking out after midnight, the stupid grin plastered on his face every time his phone lit up. 2 weeks later, the truth hit. My sister wasn't. She was sleeping with. First part? She already had a boyfriend. I didn't want to believe it. Proof has a way least expected. One Friday night from a study, and the dorm room was empty. My roommate's bed was a mess, sheets half on, and his phone charger was still plugged into. I figured he must have left. I tried to focus on homework. My phone buzzed. It was a Snapchat notification. My sister had posted something to her private story. I almost didn't open it, but curiosity got the better of me. The photo was blurry, taken in a dimly lit room, but I knew that room. The ugly blue comforter, the cheap string lights, the cracked closet mirror. It was my dorm. And there she was, sitting cross-legged on my roommate's bed, wearing his hoodie. She had captioned it with a heart emoji. My stomach dropped. I stared at the screen, unable to breathe. It wasn't just a suspicion anymore. It was real. She was in my space, with my roommate, behind my back. I didn't confront them that night. I couldn't. Instead, I locked myself in the bathroom and sat on the cold tile floor, scrolling through her story again and again, hoping maybe I'd gotten it wrong. But there was no mistake. She was with him, and she wanted people to know. The craziest part? She didn't even try to hide her face. The next morning, I told myself I'd confront her. I even drafted a text. "What the hell are you doing in my room with my roommate?" But I never sent it. My hands were shaking too badly, and a bigger part of me just didn't want to hear whatever excuse she'd come up with. Instead, I went quiet. I started watching. Over the next week, I caught the signs everywhere. She showed up on campus more often than made sense for someone 40 minutes away. My roommate would suddenly go for a walk, right around the same time she posted pictures of herself near the coffee shop. Once, I came back early from class and heard her voice through the door. I stood there 10 minutes, heart hammering, too sick to go inside, but the most painful moment came on Sunday. I'd been lying awake, scrolling aimlessly, when my roommate's phone lit. He'd fallen asleep with it in his hand. I don't even know why I did it. I just grabbed it. The screen was still up. The last message. It read, "I wish you were my real boyfriend. I hate hiding this." My chest tightened so hard it hurt. She already had someone waiting for her back home, and now she was talking about replacing him with my roommate. My sister, the girl who used to beg me to keep her secrets when she snuck out of the house, was dragging me into her lies without even asking. I dropped the phone back on his chest before he stirred, rolled over and pretended to sleep. But inside, I knew something had snapped. I couldn't stay quiet much longer. By Monday morning, I was running on 2 hours of sleep and caffeine. I couldn't sit through lectures, couldn't focus on anything except that one message burned into my brain. "I wish you were my real boyfriend." I tried to convince myself it wasn't my business, that she was an adult and could make her own choices, but that thought didn't stick, because it was my business. She was sneaking into my dorm, into my life, messing with the one place I thought was mine. And my roommate, someone I had to live with every single day, was acting like it was completely normal to go behind my back with my sister. That night, I decided to test them. I told my roommate I'd be studying late at the library. Then I left the dorm, circled the block, and came back half an hour later. The hallway was quiet, lights dimmed, and when I slid my key into the lock, I hesitated. My gut told me exactly what I'd find. I opened the door slowly, and there she was, sitting on his bed again, scrolling through her phone like she owned the place. She looked up, startled, and for a second, we just stared at each other. My roommate came out of the bathroom a moment later, hair wet, wearing nothing but sweatpants. The look on his face said everything. My voice caught in my throat, but the words finally. I told them both that I wasn't blind, that I'd seen the posts, the texts, everything. Neither of them said a word. My sister just bit her lip and looked away, while my roommate grabbed his phone like he needed proof that I was telling the truth. The silence was heavier than anything they could have admitted. I slammed the door behind me and left before they had the chance to make excuses. For the first time, it wasn't just suspicion, it was betrayal, laid out right in front of me. I thought that walking out on them would give me some sense of control, but it didn't. I wandered the campus for hours, aimless, replaying the image of my sister on his bed over and over until it made me sick. By the time I finally went back, The room was dark. Both beds occupied, like nothing had happened. The next morning she was gone, but she hadn't left quietly. My roommate's hoodie was missing, and so was the bracelet I'd given her for her 18th birthday, the one she always swore she'd never take off. It was sitting on his desk, like some kind of twisted trophy. That day, my phone started blowing up. My sister texted me nonstop, saying I had overreacted, that it wasn't what I thought, that I needed to calm down before I ruined everything. I didn't reply. I couldn't. But then the family group chat lit up. My mom sent a message asking if everything was okay between me and my sister, because she had come home crying the night before. Apparently, she told them I had flipped out on her for visiting. No details, just painted me as the bad guy. Reading that made my blood boil. She was lying to them, twisting the story before I had a chance to explain. I typed out a whole paragraph about what I'd really walked in on, but my thumb hovered over the send button. Then I deleted it, because if I exposed her like that, it wouldn't just blow up her relationship with her boyfriend, it would blow up our entire family, and I wasn't sure I was ready to carry that fallout, so I stayed silent, for now. But the truth was eating me alive, and I knew I couldn't keep it hidden much longer. Silence only lasts so long before it turns into poison. By the end of the week, I couldn't take it anymore. My sister kept spamming me with texts, apologies mixed with excuses, like she couldn't decide whether to beg or defend herself. My roommate acted like nothing had happened, cracking jokes in the dining hall and tossing me his extra meal swipes, like we were still friends. But then I got a message that pushed me over the edge. It was from her boyfriend. He'd found me on Instagram and sent me a DM. Just one line. "Hey man, is everything good with sister's name? She's been acting weird. Won't answer my calls." My stomach dropped. He didn't know. He had no clue that while he was worrying, she was sneaking into my dorm to be with someone else. I stared at the screen for an hour, debating whether to tell him. On one hand, it wasn't my relationship. On the other, wasn't it worse to let him keep living in the dark? He'd always been decent to me, drove me home for breaks, included me in stuff when my sister dragged me along. Finally, I typed out a vague reply. "I think you should talk to her directly. There's stuff going on you might not like." He read it instantly. Then came the double question. "Then, what do you mean?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. My hands were trembling too much. But I knew it was only a matter of time before everything I'd been holding in exploded, one way or another. By Saturday, the tension was unbearable. I couldn't sit in the same room with my roommate without wanting to throw something, and my sister kept blowing up my phone with calls I refused to answer. I figured she'd eventually get tired and stop, but instead, I was lying on my bed, headphones in, when the knock came. My roommate jumped up first, and the second he opened the door, there she was, dressed like she had just come from a date, makeup done, hair perked. The way she looked at him first, not me, made my stomach twist. She asked if we could talk privately. My roommate slipped out without hesitation, which told me everything I needed to know about where his loyalties were. The moment we were alone, she launched into damage control, said I was blowing things out of proportion, that it was just casual, that her boyfriend didn't need to know because it would ruin him. She tried to guilt me, reminding me how many times she'd covered for me when we were kids sneaking around, but I couldn't ignore the panic in her voice. She wasn't just worried about me, she was terrified her boyfriend would find out. And then she dropped the bomb. She admitted he had been talking about proposing. That he'd already shown her the ring. Hearing that felt like someone had punched me in the chest. My sister wasn't just cheating. She was planning to accept a proposal while sneaking around with my roommate. I asked her what the hell she was thinking, but she just snapped back that I didn't understand, that she loved them both in different ways. Her voice cracked, and for the first time, I realized she wasn't just reckless. She was trapped in her own mess. And now she was dragging me down with her. She begged me not to say anything, promised she'd end it soon, swore it was just temporary, but all I could think about was her boyfriend sitting at home, probably saving up for that ring, completely oblivious. The worst part? While she was talking, my roommate texted her. I saw her phone light up with his name, some inside joke in the preview that made her smirk for half a second before she shoved it back in her pocket. She couldn't even keep a straight face while promising to stop. That's when it hit me. I was holding all the power. One word from me could shatter her relationship, her reputation, everything she thought she had under control. And yet, for some reason, I stayed quiet. For now. It didn't take long for things to crack. A few days later, her boyfriend messaged me again, this time longer. He said he knew something was going on because she was dodging him more than ever, and he couldn't shake the feeling she was hiding something big. He begged me to be straight with him, said he deserved to know if he was wasting his time. I didn't reply right away, but the guilt sat heavy in my chest. Every time my phone buzzed, I half expected it to be him again, and every time I walked into my dorm and saw my roommate grinning at his phone, I wanted to throw it across the room. That night, while I was pacing the hallway trying to clear my head, I heard my roommate laughing. The door was cracked open, and inside I saw him on FaceTime, smiling at my sister. He told her he couldn't wait until the weekend, that he hated sneaking around. She laughed, blew him a kiss, and ended the call. I don't know what came over me. but I snapped a picture of him right there. Screen still lit with her face. My hands were shaking as I saved it. Proof. The next morning, her boyfriend messaged again, this time with just one sentence. Please, man, don't let me look stupid. I stared at the photo on my phone, thumb hovering over the send button. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I knew that if I sent it, everything would implode, and yet I couldn't decide if that was justice or betrayal of my own family. In the end, I couldn't take it anymore. My sister's boyfriend deserved to know, even if it meant destroying the fragile mess she'd built. I sent the photo. No explanation, no warning, just the proof. He didn't respond right away, but later that night, my phone lit up with a string of messages. He thanked me, said he had confronted her, and that she finally admitted it. She tried to spin it as a mistake, claimed it wasn't serious, but he wasn't buying it. He ended things on the spot. The fallout was immediate. My sister showed up at my dorm the next day, furious. She screamed at me, said I had ruined her life, that I had no right to interfere. My roommate stood behind her, silent, like he didn't know whether to defend her or himself. For once, he didn't look so smug. Word spread fast in our family, too. My mom called me in tears, demanding to know why I'd kept it all quiet until it exploded. My dad was livid, not just at her, but at me for letting it get this far. Thanksgiving plans got canceled. My sister moved back home for a while, and her ex cut all ties. As for my roommate, things got unbearable. We barely spoke, and after a week of icy silence, he requested a new dorm assignment. I didn't fight it. Watching him pack up and leave felt like finally exhaling after months of holding my breath. Now, months later, things are quieter, but not fixed. My sister still barely speaks to me. My parents try to pretend everything's normal, but family dinners are awkward. Part of me wonders if I shut my mouth shut, let her deal with her choices on her own. But another part of me knows I did the right thing. Her boyfriend didn't deserve to be strung along, and I didn't deserve to live in the middle of their secret. Sometimes I lie awake and replay it all, wondering if I made things worse by being the one to expose it. But then I remember the look on her boyfriend's messages, the relief in his words when he said he found the truth. Maybe I shattered my sister's lies, but at least I gave someone else the chance to stop living in